Good afternoon. For over 27 years, the identity of the person who attacked and sexually assaulted 3 women in Sacramento and Yolo counties went unknown. The first John Doe warrant in the state of California was filed in this case to preserve the statute of limitations on a portion of the charges. The original detectives in this case, Detective Donna Simmons, who's here today, Detective Pete Willover, never forgot this case and never gave up trying to identify the assailant. In December of 2018, an item of evidence was analyzed and used to develop a specialized DNA profile with the intent of using investigative genetic genealogy. Sacramento District Attorney's Office Lieutenant Kurt Campbell and Investigative Assistant Monica Zakowski, along with Sacramento Police Department Detective Sean McGovern, worked tirelessly using genetic genealogy to identify the suspect and ultimately locate him in Decatur, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta. On June 28, 2019, the assailant, who went unidentified for 27 years, was arrested and brought back to Sacramento. 27 years later, after the first attack, detectives knocked on the door of Luetta Luman and Geri Welch and told them that their assailant had been arrested. I heard Terry Ann Grimes say earlier today that the road to justice is long. In this case, it was several trips around the solar system and back again. Both women, along with their family and friends, were stunned, and many other emotions soon followed. When I met Geri Welch in her home after the arrest, I could feel that something was amiss. I met a warm, welcoming, and gracious woman who was so thankful that her assailant had been caught. But at the same time, she expressed feelings of guilt over the fact that her case had been solved, but hundreds of others went unsolved. In October of 2019, just months after the arrest, Geri called victim advocate Maylin Chong and I and told us that she was seriously ill. We met and I explained the process of a conditional examination, and she agreed to do so, despite her physical obstacles. Over a 3-day period in November of 2019, Geri endured a conditional examination with determination, amazing accuracy, and had her day in court, where she looked the assailant in the eye and let him know who was in charge. On the second day of the conditional exam, as we left the courtroom, Geri called me over to her, and she said, "Did you notice what I wore today?" I looked at her more closely and then broke into a big smile. She said, "That's right, stripes. I'm sending a message. I'm letting him know where he's going and what he will be wearing the rest of his life." We shared a much-needed laugh. Geri passed away just 8 months after the assailant was arrested. She did her part, said her piece, and I know that she's watching today, along with her family and friends. I had the pleasure of meeting Luetta Luman and her daughter Melissa at the arraignment. That's always a crazy time to meet somebody, so we made arrangements to meet at Luetta's house. On a beautiful summer morning, Luetta welcomed us into her home. Her dog, not so much, but Luetta welcomed us. Your dog only loves you. She has a beautiful backyard, and we sat and talked. Luetta is gracious, funny, and nothing gets by her. Luetta lived in the same house where the attack had occurred, as did Geri, and I asked her why she didn't move after this horrific thing happened to her. She looked me straight in the eye and she said, "This was the first thing I bought with my own money, and he is not going to take that away from me." As the case unfolded and Geri's conditional exam was complete, settlement negotiations started. After several months, we were at an impasse. Luetta's daughter, Melissa, called me with concerns about her mother's age and the toll this was all taking on her. We decided to do a conditional examination with Luetta as well. Maylin and Detective Amber Lawrence and I went over to Luetta's house. I had some concerns over a particular legal issue, and I wanted to ask Luetta some questions. She saw right through my questions and knew there was a potential problem. Like I said, nothing gets by Luetta. We were still at an impasse with settlement negotiations. I wanted this person to go to prison for every last minute that I could send him. We went back and forth, and ultimately Melissa called me and said, "We want the case settled." She was upset. I got upset. The case was taking a toll on everyone, mostly Luetta. And who could fault her after we turned her life upside down after 27 years? My prosecutor herself said, "No, it's not enough time," and I dug in, stubborn as always. I went to Don Blade for advice. "Amy, it's enough." I went to Steve Grippy for advice. "It's enough. It's the right thing to do." I went to Anne Marie. "What are you, crazy? Do it." Luetta and Melissa, thank you for standing by me and for telling me that it was enough. It was what I needed to hear from you. And you had the patience and grace to wait for me until that conclusion was reached. You never wavered in your trust, and I'm thrilled that the case is resolved. Luetta was able to give a very eloquent victim impact statement, and it's behind all of us. I want to thank Sacramento Police Department Detective Pete Willover, Detective Sean McGovern, Sacramento Sheriff's Department Detective Donna Simmons, Detective Mickey Links, Detective Sergeant Michelle Hendricks, Detective Amber Lawrence, Lieutenant Kurt Campbell, and Monica Zakowski for their relentless pursuit of justice for these ladies. I also want to thank victim advocate Maylin Chong for her outstanding work and once again standing by me through it all. I also want to thank Yolo County District Attorney Garrett Hamilton for his help and his support during the prosecution of this case. Luetta, you're an inspiration, and I learned so much from you and from Geri during this process. Anne Marie, I'm proud to present to you Luetta Luman as an outstanding citizen for Sacramento County. Is she going to speak first, or we do this first? Okay, yeah, we can do that. I'll take your mask for you. Hold your cane.
Wipe my tears.
Wipe your tears.
No, I'm fine, thank you. I'm fine. How many times I've thought this will be the last time I cry. Thank you for this award. The people who are really outstanding citizens are the law enforcement officers and district attorneys who stayed with this case and other cases until they brought the perpetrators to justice. I also want to acknowledge my sister survivors for their strength and courage. And my daughter, who walked every step of this way with me. Thank you so much.